What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 6 of Chris and Company. I am Chris Castellani. Not going to waste a whole lot of your time. We're going to jump into our interview with Kyle Bauer here in just a second. But before we do that, I just want to make sure if you are watching this video on YouTube, make sure you are hitting that like button. Make sure you are hitting that subscribe button and tap that, that little bell symbol. Tap that so you get alerts every single time that an episode of Chris and Company is uploaded to YouTube. You could also watch this on Rumble. Make sure to subscribe. And down below in the description for this video is the link tree where you will find the links to where you can find Chris and Company on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Google Play. Whatever platform your heart desires to listen to this show on, you are welcome to find it in that link tree. But of course, for the visual element, you are welcome to tune in to YouTube. And for today's episode, we are going to interview Kyle Bauer, one of the more brilliant minds at Barstool. I was able to do kind of a deep dive, look into his past a little bit. A lot of interesting stuff. I think he might be surprised by some of the stuff that I know. That's what we're going for. We're trying to educate here on Chris and Company. Let's get to the interview. Chris and Company, episode 6. Kyle Bauer joins us today. KB, what's going on, man?
Aloha. What's up, Chris?
You seem like you're in good spirits, man. I like it. It's good to see. It's good to see you happy.
You could. That's your assessment. I'm happy.
I mean, you seem to be in good spirits right now. Yeah, because I've seen you when you're sad. I don't like it.
You've seen? Okay, yeah, fair enough. The sun's out. I got my Hiroshi Nagai behind me.
Love it. I was doing a Kyle Bauer deep dive, as I was telling you before we started recording, because with you and Nick, and I think we probably know a little bit more about you, but there's like this mystery to your guys' background, and thank you to last night and really the last week or so doing a little bit of searching into your past, man, and I found it pretty interesting. So we'll kind of just start. We'll kind of start with the first thing I found, which is your high school career and your high school wrestling career. I don't know if this is public or if you've made it.
Please make it public.
I don't know if you've made this public or bragged about it. Have you told people you had a 4.0 GPA in high school?
I think people assume, dude. It's West Virginia public schools. That's like identifying a triangle.
Were you one of those guys growing up that enjoyed going to school, or did it just come easy to you?
No, I don't like. I'm good at tests because of my memorization skills, but I hated the class portion. For a while. I hated the social portion. It took me till senior year to feel comfortable there. But no, I hated high school.
Really? You see, guys, I was talking to Nick, and he brought up that he considered himself something of an outcast during his high school years. Did you put yourself kind of in the same category?
No, neither of us were outcasts. There's levels to outcasts. We were fine. It wasn't like that. I was more socially anxious, so I didn't have that confidence to talk to a lot of different groups of people.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, that's that's carried over for me. Well, no, I think when I hear outcasts, I don't think of people that are I didn't think you guys were getting stuffed into lockers. I just meant probably not in the in crowd. You guys weren't the quarterbacks, so to speak.
No, but I mean, in West Virginia, the standards are lower, so I still there was no issues with social hierarchies. I didn't have to hide from the quarterback or anything like that.
What was it? Did you go to by West Virginia standards? Did you go to a big school?
Yeah, huge by West Virginia standards. It was the only one in the county, so big school district, but still 1,500 kids, which, go to Dallas, Phoenix area, you'll get 4 times that.
How quickly did it take you to learn all the schools in the West Virginia area?
Oh, I know all the schools in West Virginia. I don't know why I'm obsessed and still am. It's creepy, but also not. I love school districts. Like I love high schools, but not the going ons of high schools, but
Right.
like
Naming.
geographic, like what geographic area constitutes its own school district. You know what I'm saying?
How deep does that, like, how many states does that run with for you? Like, is it just Pennsylvania and West Virginia, or like, could you know like where I went to high school?
No, I know a lot of like towns and cities in America, and through wrestling, like I got exposed to different high schools, especially like the powerhouses.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know like Detroit Central Catholic because that
Yeah.
was a powerhouse wrestling school. Holt, I don't know if that was near you.
Yeah, that's about a
Powerhouse.
30-minute drive. Yeah. Yeah, played them in tennis
And
a few times.
ah,
You
great.
Yeah, it's close. It's close.
I love tennis. Yeah.
Did you play growing up?
No, I just started. My girlfriend was a big tennis player. She got me into it, and now I like playing to an extent, but I appreciate the sport a lot. She got me into watching it, and it's just so grueling.
Yeah, that's why I stopped. then the mental aspect of it. Yeah, I mean, it gets you.
Yeah.
It's a great sport to play. You can play it for a long time. I haven't done it in forever. I was good in high school, and I should get back into it. I've been saying that for literally a decade. Do you remember?
Yeah.
'Cause, you have incredible memory. Do you remember your SAT score?
No, I don't have an incredible long-term memory. I don't know if it's like been like drugs and alcohol. I mean, nothing like terrible, but my long-term memory, like things from my childhood, horrible. SAT score was maybe a slightly above average.
It was pretty. 1730. It was pretty good.
Oh, you know it.
I found it. Yeah, I
I
found it.
forget. I think they decreased the max.
Did
So
I don't know how that worked. In Michigan, it was more about ACT than it was SAT. I don't know why.
yeah, I didn't even take the ACT.
It's so weird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Education system coming through again. But I brought up earlier you're state champion wrestler. I saw you were 27-0. Were you 27-0 your senior year?
Senior year. Yes.
Senior. Because that's an interesting sport to me because I feel like a lot of people growing up, like they start off in soccer or basketball or playing other sports. Did you have people who wrestled in your family growing up? Like, was it an inherited thing?
My dad did in high school. So I think there was like a youth local sign up. So he just said, "Hey, why not?"
At
It's
what point?
not. I was like, I guess my area is more like wrestling heavy, like northern Appalachia, surrounded by Ohio and PA, like 5 minutes from both. Like those are the hotbed wrestling states. So I guess it was more common to get into wrestling, but still pretty rare for most kids.
At what point did you realize it was like your niche?
Fifth grade, that's when I started traveling to Pittsburgh to go to one of the better clubs in Pennsylvania, and from there on, it was my identity, it was my passion, like it was everything I thought about, and I was obsessed not just with the sport, but with that's when I got into. I would study brackets online. I was obsessed, and I know you can relate to this in some
Totally.
extent. Too, I knew every youth wrestler. I knew where they were from. I knew what like school district they were in, and I was like, and I hated myself for knowing that because people would be like, "Oh, that's weird, you knew that." But I was obsessed. I was in every like any online, any website for youth wrestling. I was in there.
That buddy, I don't like to make these about myself, but I have a story to share.
No, yes. Please relate to this because I need company.
So my senior year of high school, we my partner and I at the top doubles flight, we were the 4 seed in the state, and we in the semifinals lost to the number 1 ranked team in a great match. I think it was 6-4, and then we won the first set 6-4, lost the second set 6-3, and then lost the third set 6-1. So on the MHSA website, the Michigan High School website, they posted all the brackets with the scores. So I went there after the tournament was over, and I looked under the score, and it said Grand Rapids West Catholic 4-6, 6-1, 6-1. And so I got the email of the person who was responsible for putting it together and said that score is wrong. It was 6-3 in the second set. It wasn't 6-1. To this day, and I believe these brackets are still available on the MHSA website, never got changed. But yes, I love hearing that because I think our brains work in very similar formats. Do you
First off, congrats on the state performance. That's impressive. I didn't know that. Second up, yeah, same boat. They've gotten my scores wrong. They said I lost 11-1 to Hunter Stieber at the North Allegheny Young Guns Youth Championship in 2004. It was 10-1. So I would recognize all of the errors in brackets and results. And I never emailed, but I wish I could.
I had a lot of time my senior year of high school, I think. But yeah, I know. What happened to integrity, man? It's unbelievable.
Right.
Do you have a state championship ring?
No, I have a watch that it fits the same exact way that Mincy's brick watch fits. It's too loose. I never got it fitted, but I would never wear it. It just says, I think it says state champion on the underside.
That's cool, though. Yeah. And so then I saw that you became a member of the MAC. You joined Kent State. You committed to Kent State. And I've always been told in interviews to find a local angle. So for anybody in the Michigan, Detroit area paying attention to this right now, you had a 12-4 record at the Michigan State Open. So that we filled our.
Hey, thank you. Yeah. Holy shit. That was my best tournament.
Was it really? All right. You see, we're checking off. We're checking off boxes here, dude. We got the local angle. So you wrestle in college. What was the original plan for you after college?
I didn't even think about it. I was so one-track minded with wrestling, and my priorities were strictly, wrestling-centric goals. That I didn't even consider a life, like a professional career. It was the equivalent of blindly selecting speech pathology.
I feel like that's a tough thing to blindly select.
I beat myself up over it all the time because I had no passion for speech patterns, for no offense to kids with speech impediments, but I wasn't passionate about helping them. I think my cousin said it was a decent job, and I was like, yeah, let's do that. It was 90% women, girls.
Yeah, and I don't know how this kind of world works. Was there a professional or semi-professional wrestling thing that you looked at beyond?
Oh, you're talking about wrestling.
Well, no. I want to go back.
No, the ceiling is the Olympics.
Okay, I was wondering if there was some in between. Yeah, no,
pretty much impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't talking about wrestling specifically, but I was just thinking back to that because if you said that you weren't kind of sure of the plan. I read up on an interview with you. Is this true? Again, I gotta fact check here. That at one point you had an early intervention working with kids with disabilities.
Yeah, that was my career before Barstool. So for 2 years, I did that in Youngstown, Ohio.
You ever miss that?
Well, compared to this job, no. But it was rewarding in a way that I probably won't get to experience ever again.
Yeah, rewarding in a much different way than Barstool, I'm sure is rewarding. Is there anything, I guess, through that whole experience, through high school wrestling, college wrestling, kind of some of your early work posts, is there any lessons that you learned that you've carried over into the work that you do at Barstool now?
From wrestling?
Yeah.
An unbeatable level of, I don't want to say mental toughness because I still struggle in some areas mentally, but I guess it is so hard in so many ways, the sport of wrestling, that, other things like working out now, like adhering to a strict workout plan or a diet is so easy comparatively.
Yeah.
Like the cutting weights, the training, the competing, it was so grueling that for health, like I guess for health reasons now, that helps tremendously. But I don't know if it helps as much with like the field of like performing comedy and shows and podcasts.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's such a that's what I find kind of interesting about your story is there's such a juxtaposition from what you were doing to what you do now, and so that's kind of what I'm curious about is how did Barstool end up? How did that come about then?
From it, like early on, I was obsessed with Twitter. I think having like, I guess I would say I had a lot of comedic confidence, but next to no like social confidence. So I was enraptured by the platform of Twitter and being able to tweet out jokes without anyone seeing my pragmatic skills or delivery. So I was obsessed with Twitter early on, and writing, I guess too. Like I just used it as a creative writing outlet, which led to me doing blogs while I was like doing my early intervention career, which then led to Barstool.
Do you have any like? Did you write any writing growing up? Was that something that you had considered at any point?
I was always like, I was never. Yeah, I would write. I would write in my notebook. I was like interested in writing comedy, but never did anything like full fledged. So it was always like Facebook statuses or trying to come up with videos, to Twitter, to eventually longer form.
Right. I asked Nick this, but I'm curious about it with you as well because you guys both strike me as people that like I could be wrong about this, that like study comedy growing up. Like were you somebody that was a big fan of comedy and stand up and like, you know, especially the internet age that we kind of grew up on. I know Nick mentioned guys like Bo Burnham.
Yeah, it was.
Did you have your influences?
For me, it was always, I was obsessed with the internet. So any social media, YouTube, like even like internet, like forum star, like I was obsessed with that. So Bo Burnham, even like way more niche people, I was obsessed with the internet.
Are you still?
And like the anonymity of like I was infatuated by the prospect of becoming an internet star and how I could do that without ever revealing my face.
At what point did you realize that you were probably going to have to reveal your face eventually?
So when I started at Barstool, I was still like operating under the assumption that I'm going to not show my face. I'm going to avoid video content, even like audio content. I just wanted to blog because in my head I was like, oh, I don't want that attention, or I'm socially awkward. But in reality, it was a fear of failing, and it was a fear of shame that I had to get over.
I think that's a common like symptom that a lot of people who are content creators have, especially at Barstool, where so much of it is like you're trying different things, you're throwing things to the wall. Some things are going to work, some things are going to not. Would you say that? Oh, sorry, I'm getting a call. Potential spam. Put it to voicemail. Would you say that like working here and in the kind of field that you work in has helped you with like some of the social anxiety stuff?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's more so being like putting in the reps and just getting desensitized to the fact that you have this big platform and a lot of people are like watching, a lot of people are going to comment about it. Once you get desensitized to that, it's like, yeah, a lot of things socially become easier.
I know Nick brought up that when you first started, you were blogging at the cafe across the street from from the offices. Am I right with that?
Yeah, it was kind of a decent walk, like 3 blocks away.
Oh, was it really that? Okay. And was that an intentional decision on your part not to go into the offices at that point, or was there alternative reasons for that?
It was a crowded office in the beginning. There was not a lot of seating space, and I just prefer whenever I'm writing something to be as like private as possible, to be alone with zero distractions.
Do you still feel that way, or have you kind of shifted?
Yeah, if I'm writing something, I just need to be alone.
And I this is totally a coincidence, but I saw yesterday. Nate tweeted this out. That cafe closed yesterday.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah.
It was so crowded though, and that was like just the essence of Manhattan.
When was the first moment in which, like, and I talked to Nick about this too, where the parameters of the job kind of changed? When did you realize the whole idea of I want to remain anonymous, I just want to blog, was probably not something that was going to be in the cards?
Well, also, first off, like in my head, I told myself I wanted to be anonymous, but in reality, no, I wanted to be as successful as possible. It was just that fear of rejection, the fear of exposure and shame and ridicule and criticism was what was blocking me from ever even trying to get in front of a camera. But luckily, the Las Vegas Bracket Busters competition like forced me into that.
Yeah, I was wondering. I feel like there's always that one event that kind of kicks things off for everybody at Barstool, and the whirlwind kind of begins. And I know you might come across differently than how you feel inside, but I always look at you and Nick, and I envy you guys as seeming very comfortable when you're on camera. I know Nick said he's a very anxious guy. I was surprised to hear that. You've gotten so many reps in at this point. Was there a specific piece of content or a moment at the company where you felt like, okay, I'm settled in here, like I know where my feet are at this point?
I guess like the yak for sure helped a lot. That was still serious radio.
Yeah.
So I think like when Nick started, that's when the comfort like really increased, because we had similar senses of humor, and he's always operating on he's just always funny. He has increased my tolerance for comedy in this way that's almost like annoying, because it's harder to enjoy other pieces of comedy because I'm exposed to him on a daily basis. But it's also made me like, it's stepped my game up because I have to, if I wanted to even like operate on like even a close wavelength as him.
No, I asked Nick this question. It's a question I'm always interested in asking people that I find to be genuinely funny. Because to me, wittiness and like quick humor is like a superpower to me. Like I just find people who are like that incredible. Do you think you're funny?
Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that was good. I'm proud of that. But again, like being around Nick all the time, like my standards for what's funny, I don't know, it's my personal standards. Not saying my standards are better than others, but I find him so funny that a lot of times I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to keep up.
Yeah. No, I get that. Does it ever get, especially around the personalities of Barstool, was there ever a point in the beginning where you felt intimidated?
Yeah, still am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we have guys who are, I might think like, oh, I might be wittier or craftier than them, but they're so good at performing, at being on, that's when I feel like inferior.
Is there a certain piece of content that you've done or a podcast that you are particularly proud of, where like if somebody were to ask you to check out your stuff, that would kind of be your go-to of like this. Yeah, check this out first.
It'd probably be the blogs, because I think writing it's pure, like it's pure work. It's pure comedic work. Like you have to make it good. Whereas on like video content, there's a lot of other intangibles that can make a video funny. Like something else happening in the video, facial expressions, like just like general silliness. But with writing, you really got to put the pen to the paper and create something like story worthy, I guess. Like you got to create a project almost without any other help. So I guess some of the blogs.
Yeah, I mean, and you're a great writer. I think that's an interesting point that you bring up, because I feel like, especially with video content, sometimes what is funny versus what isn't funny is as simple as the edit. I mean, it's dependent. It can be
100%
totally dependent on how it's cut. Whereas with writing, it's entirely your work. I guess. Do you have a different approach in terms of how you go about being funny on a blog versus how you try to go about being funny on the Yak or in video or podcast content?
Yeah, with a blog, it's more academic almost. Like it's more cerebral. Like I'll sit down for 2 days straight trying to come up with like the perfect blog, all of the perfect sentences, make it flow, the perfect word usage. When it comes to video content, it's more just about your comfort, like how comfortable you are. And I feel like it's harder to find that comfort in front of a camera, but it's also easier once you get going to create something that's even perceived as like somewhat entertaining.
Yeah, it was something, I write like my angle of what I kind of write about is different than yours, but I think that especially with the blog line, it got, for me for a long time, it was kind of overwhelming. I had not like blogged before I got hired here. And once you kind of get rolling with that, like the confidence grows and you can, you pick out the stuff you like, the stuff you don't. Yeah, so I feel like it's easy to kind of, once you get that ball rolling there, you feel better about it. It's good. I've come to really enjoy blogging. Real quick, before I just want to bring this up because I saw this TikTok clip yesterday. That movie about the kid with AIDS.
Yeah.
What was the name of it? Sorry.
The Cure.
The Cure.
The Cure.
Okay, I had. It's funny because that was your sick day movie. Is that what the category was that you guys were talking about?
You're right. Hernia day.
Hernia day.
Surgery day.
That one of the kids in that movie, I have to look at the poster, but I think it was the kid who did not have HIV, was starred in one of my sick day movies growing up, which was a movie called Star Kid, about an alien machine, like basically an alien suit that crashes. It's kind of like Iron Man to a certain extent.
Okay.
And the kid gets inside the suit and ends up being a superhero for a 90-minute runtime of the motion picture. That actor, though, just kind of a six degrees of separation, has been in a bunch of stuff, and he was in The Social Network. He was one of the roommates in The Social Network, and he was
really?
he was one of the members of Queen in Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't know his name, but he's still
the dude in The Cure, like the friend of the AIDS kid.
Yeah, let me.
Was in The Social Network.
Yeah, he was one of the roommates in The Social Network. Yeah, let's see. Let me find his name. This bad radio here, but yeah,
no, you're good.
Joseph Mazzello. Yeah. He was in Jurassic Park too. He's what the kid in the original Jurassic Park.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Quite the filmography. But no, that clip was hilarious, by the way. That dude, old 90s and early 2000s movie trailers are so on the nose with their descriptions that they're very funny. There's a whole
narrator, the deep dramatic voice. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Have you ever, maybe you guys talked about, have you ever heard of or seen the trailer for the movie Tiptoes with Matthew McConaughey?
No.
Okay. You guys could do an entire episode about it. It's a movie from 2003 where Matthew McConaughey he plays a regular guy who comes from a family of dwarves, and his brother is played by Gary Oldman, who's a dwarf, and they don't use CG because they just didn't have the budget for it. So he just like pulls his arms back.
This is Gary Oldman putting his body in a dwarven position.
Yeah, like you can see like he had him on his knees. In the trailer, I shit you not, they say, starring Matthew McConaughey, and in the role of a lifetime, Gary Oldman. I'm gonna send you this trailer.
Send me that.
Oh yeah, he's in it. It's a bunch of Kate Beckinsale in it, Patricia Arquette.
Oh wow.
Peter Dinklage before Station Agent, before Game of Thrones. It is a fucking bizarre movie, and I've watched a lot of interviews with these actors, and I am convinced their publicist has told them no tiptoe questions because I didn't know this existed till
no one ever asks about it.
Yeah, no. It's one of those movies that I think they thought was going to be a big Oscar drama. It has like 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is a bizarre flick. I don't know how it got on this.
Yeah, I need to watch this. That'd be good for like a bonus episode.
For sure, dude. I'll send it to you and Nick. It is it plays like a fake trailer, like something at the beginning of Tropic Thunder. But I take The Dozen insanely seriously, like too seriously.
I love watching you and your team.
I can't.
Why not?
I can't help it. My brain is wired like I'm a competitive guy. Like I like winning. Yeah. I like getting answers right. But and I mean this truly, my favorite thing in The Dozen, my favorite thing to watch on that show is you with geography and that category and memorizing hometowns. It's every time I root for you to get it right every time. I'm happy you get it right every time. And I just got to ask, where did that niche come from for you?
First off, I think you could do the same in your given categories.
Probably.
I'm just more flamboyant about it. So I guess I know we have similar brains. So I know you can relate to how it was.
For sure. Sorry to cut you off, but I was just thinking, what did you come up? You created a fake state, a fake.
Yeah, it's been ever growing in my head since 7th grade. The cities are expanding. They're coming up with more universities, suburbs. It's like a highlight of my day to be in the shower or in bed and just expanding that world.
Dude, I love that so much because I'm the guy. And I tweeted about it last year, but I have a fake Detroit Tigers team that I came up with.
Yeah, that's you. You're in the same home as me.
And I have my knowledge of that team is to a point where if a script writer was like, we want to make a mini series about each player on this team, I'm like, oh, I have the backgrounds and everything. So I love that. I love that shit to death. But you're going back to my original question. I know I'm kind of all over the place. Where did that kind of come about for you?
I guess in kindergarten, I memorized timetables. I memorized the presidents in order. I didn't know why. I just my parents got me placemats. I memorized capitals. So I had all these crazy skills in kindergarten, but I also I couldn't tie my shoes for the life of me. I couldn't figure out the mechanics of a shoe tie. I couldn't open a pill bottle. I couldn't figure it out. There's a lot of things with my hands that I couldn't do, but in some areas I could just memorize things. And I never knew why, and I just stuck with it.
Kyle, I've always liked you, but listening to this interview, I feel like we should probably be best friends.
I know you can relate.
What you're describing right now is I just about a year ago finally figured out how to use a can opener, and yet when I was in
anything with mechanics,
yes.
I can't use keys, and I'm like, how am I so stupid in this area?
Fucking dude, press and seal is one of the great scams of our time to me. I mean, it's way more difficult than it has any right to be. And yet when I was in 5th grade, I remember I had this chart. This was after the Steelers had won the Super Bowl against the Seahawks of all the 40 Super Bowl winners. And my brother's friends would come over and be like, there's no fucking way that you at 11 years old knows every Super Bowl winner and the MVP. And I would just rail it off. Yeah. I should have made them pay money for it, but I didn't. But no, growing up, did that bring you, because it was like this with me with sports, did that bring you a certain level of comfort where if there were certain things you struggled with, you felt, not a superpower with it necessarily, but you felt a sense of accomplishment or confidence growing as you were like, man, I'm ahead of the curve when it comes to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that was super beneficial as a young kid, but as adolescence approached and things intelligence and like memorization. Like the kids stopped caring about that. That's when it was like, oh fuck, like I gotta like talk to girls, I gotta like be cool, I gotta listen to the right music, and then it was over. But I think like early on, first to fifth grade, like it was cool.
But you say it was over, and I'm sure it was at the time. But in a way, hasn't it kind of come full circle now, where it's cool for you again?
Yeah, it's insane. Like if you would have told me, like, I get to do that on a stage for the dozen. Like it's almost like a weird, hyper specific fantasy catered to specifically like to me.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I
And
mean,
I feel that way with the sports stuff too, where I'm like, that's why I take it so seriously. It's like this is a deep seated thing that goes back to my childhood.
So never feel embarrassment or apprehension about your passion for the dozen. Embrace it fully.
It's weird. Yeah, I'm also not the only person who takes it super seriously.
Oh yeah, no, a lot of people do.
Yeah,
I would say everyone. It's just like the human brain, especially the male one, loves getting a question right, being perceived as intelligent, and they hate getting a question wrong, being perceived as dumb or ignorant.
Yeah, it becomes a personal point of pride. But like when my team wins on the dozen, I tell my parents about it and we watch it together. When we lose, I just say just ignore it. Like I'm just I don't need to rewatch that game film. But you bring that up. You guys won the Las Vegas live tournament during Super Bowl week, which was a really cool event. And I asked Nick, but like, what was your experience with Gary Vee like?
Yeah, I guess I've always considered him to be like the like mockery or like the epitome of that grind set, entrepreneurial, influential video like genre that I always have made fun of.
Yes. It's easy to make fun of, in fairness.
It's very easy. He makes it easy. But like him like being super passionate to a like comical degree about winning and the dozen, and like he was kind of the man.
Yeah, no, I love because whenever we bring on whether it's the dozen or whatever, whenever we bring on celebrity guests, sometimes they're athletes or actors or entrepreneurs, what have you. You never know what kind of energy they're going to bring. Like you never know if it's like just a gig for them type of thing. But he was
exactly. That's the best way to describe it. He didn't treat it as He didn't treat it as a gig. He treated it like, oh, that's what I wanted to do tonight.
And Josh Allen was the same way, where it's like this guy's like, this guy was like in the NFL playoffs 2 weeks ago, and now he's like on a stage with Big Cat, like, and they were into it. I thought that was a really cool idea because when Jeff announced that, I thought it was just they were just gonna be there as like represent. I didn't know they were gonna play in the matches. So when they were like helping Frank out with answers, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I have been asked by people in the past, it's like, hey man, if you want to if you want to get your foot in the door here, so to speak, like call somebody out, take a shot at somebody, start a beef with somebody at the company. And I always go back to you and Nick as being two guys who have been able to succeed at this company by obviously being talented, but being like genuinely nice people. You've been nice to me, you've been nice to everyone, everyone speaks highly of you guys. Do you try to avoid confrontation, or is it just something that like you'll take it if it comes? Like, because you guys strike me as two guys who are just so focused on your own shit that like you just kind of go where the wind takes it.
Yeah, I've always avoided confrontation. Like it's always been like extremely off-putting to me. Like it's not a position I want to be in. Maybe it's less of a moral high ground, but more of a just like I'm kind of afraid of that. I don't want to be arguing or in a fight or a feud with a coworker. That's like extremely uncomfortable to me.
Yeah.
But I'm also like in a sense like the company has historically rewarded people who thrust themselves in the position who aren't afraid of getting in feuds. So I'm not like saying I'm above it, but yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah, no, I wasn't implying that either. I just think that it's never it's never been your guys' MO, and I like seeing people at the company succeed like with that mindset because I view it as a misconception, to be honest. Like I think like yes, there are people who have like thrived here, and some of the big moments at Barstool have been like feuds and butting heads, but there's a lot of people who've in the New York office and the Chicago office who have gotten by just fine, just like doing their own shit, being themselves, being funny, writing good blogs. And how many years now have you worked at Barstool?
A little over 5 years.
A little over 5. Uh, if KB in 2024 could say one thing to KB that just got hired back in 2019, what would it be?
Stop obsessing over Barstool. It's so easy to overinflate the significance of your life and field, especially when you're constantly consuming. Your timeline is Barstool. You're constantly watching Barstool videos, looking at the comments, which leads you to talk about Barstool outside of work and become obsessed in a way that's not even that's counterproductive to like what you actually put out. Have a life outside of Barstool. Stop fucking obsessing over it. Like, not, it's like the weight I put on myself for every piece of content I put out, every show I went on, podcast, every blog I put out, even like a tweet. I was like, this is end all be all. How people perceive this and react to this is gonna like affect my mood for the rest of the day or week. And that is so unhealthy. And it's not, it doesn't get like obsessing doesn't get the best out of yourself.
At what point was there that shift for you where you kind of realized that and became, I mean, not a leave your work at home type of guy, but just in was able to separate those two things, reality from what you do in content?
I think it was just getting burnt out after like so many like years. I would say like 3 years of every day obsessing so much and putting so much pressure on myself. It was like I'm burnt out, and it was like more of a gradual process.
Yeah, I mean, that's. I think the people who really thrive and make it here have that mindset, and I'm fascinated by that. I'm fascinated by how people kind of view their placement here and how they it separates work life from content life because it's sometimes I still struggle with all the time. Like I'll struggle with it right now. Like I'll read the comments to this fucking
Right.
interview. It's
Yeah.
just it's a weird way with how I'm wired. It's kind of always and you take the good with the bad. Obviously, I mean, I think that with guys like you and Nick, like I don't know how do I put this. I feel like do you feel like your social life has improved since you've put that mindset in about like kind of separate Barstool from the rest of the world?
I don't know about social life because as I get older, now that I'm like in my 30s, like I just don't have the energy to constantly do things outs like in public, go out with friends. It's more so like it's improved my life. Like now I'm still just as passionate about the job, but now I'm passionate about like working out, lifting, about my relationship with my girlfriend, and not like the kind of like separating work from how I talk to her. Like I try not to bring that up as much. It's still like I'm still fucked in the head and care too much. But I guess like finding other things to prioritize in your life is important.
For sure, man. Well, I mean, I've always been a fan of yours. I appreciate you doing this. I know that not to I don't want to go too deep here. I know that this last year has not been the easiest for you at points, man. And but I want to let you know, man. Uh, the audience is here for you. The listeners of Chris and Company are here for you, and I am as well, dude. So I really hope get a chance to see you in person again at some point soon. Thank you for doing this, man. Here for you anytime. Love you, brother.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by a lot of super supportive people that has made the past 6 months now so much easier because like when it happened, your world shuts down, and the overwhelming amount of positive support I got from the Barstool community. It's I don't even know what to say. It made things so much better in so many ways.
For sure. And I mean, it was not, from my standpoint, I was not surprised to see that. I mean, you've earned that. You've always been nice to people. You're an incredibly talented guy. So I hope through a difficult time that, to say stress was alleviated, I'm sure probably isn't the right way to put it, but that it brought you at least a little bit of comfort knowing, we had your back here. So
it did. Absolutely.
Appreciate it, man. Well, thanks so much, Kyle. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
You're the man.
Thanks. All right. Thank you so much to Kyle, man. Okay. I'm a sensitive guy. I don't know why this is embarrassing. There was a part in that interview where like I almost teared up a little bit, partially because me and him have the exact same brain, maybe slightly different interests, but I don't know. Kyle and Nick, they're just the most wholesome guys. They've 2 great interviews. I really think a lot of people are going to be surprised by some of the stuff they learned. And I know I sure was. And I appreciate him taking the time. So I'll just reiterate what I said at the beginning. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you're watching this on YouTube, in the description for this video, you'll find the link tree where you can find the links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, whatever your heart desires. Let me know what you thought of this interview. Let me know who you want to see me interview next. We will be back here on Tuesday with Jackson Jobe. Jackson Jobe stopped by for a fun interview. There talked about his future with the Tigers and kind of how he's feeling going into 2024. So exciting stuff. Really appreciate all the responses. Let's keep this up with the likes and the retweets and all that beautiful stuff. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Peace and happiness.
I'm just a devil with no